Shavous, Daf Yud Tes Amud Aleph. We're starting from 5 lines in the bottom. We learned the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. B'negeya to, from where do we learn out that you can only have the only time you're going to be chayv if there was a yediyah and the helam was on the tumah, not on the mikdash. If the helam, the concealment, what happened? What did he do? He entered into the Beis HaMikdash while he was tamei, or he ate kachim while he was tamei.
Right.
So now there was a yediyah that he knew he was tamei, and then there was a helam. What was the helam on? On the tumah, on the mikdash. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva both hold that if the helam is on the tumah, and then there was another yediyah after, of course, there has to be a yediyah in order to be chayiv. A carbon might be yedid. The helam could only be on the tumah.
He didn't know it was tummy.
He didn't know he was tummy when he entered the Beis HaMikdash. But to say he didn't know that it was the Beis HaMikdash, or he didn't know that it was kachim, you're not going to be chayiv.
So what did he do before? The day before us was
that he knew that he was tummy,
yeah,
and then it was concealed from him. He had a senior moment and forgot it. Forgot that it was tummy, and he went into the Beis HaMikdash. We ate kachim. So what do we have? We have a machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says he learns it out from the pasuk Hasheretz v'nelam loy. What v'nelam imenu? What's the only thing that was concealed from him? The tumah of sheretz. Rabbi Akiva says we learn it out from a different pasuk. What's the pasuk? He used the pasuk v'tamei. V'nelam v'hu tamei. V'nelam v'hu tamei means that the halama was about him being tamei. So the chayda, not about the mikdash, not about the kachim. So the Gemara asks, what's the chiluk between the two? They're both learning out. They're coming to the same conclusion that the helam can only be on the tumah and it cannot be on the mikdash or kachim. So the Gemara said there's a difference. According to Rabbi Eliezer, he says because he says asheret the nelam loy, he says from that pasuk we learn out that he has to know from where the tumah came from. He has to know because the words Hasheretz v'nelam is extra. So it's coming to tell you have to know whether he became Tommy from Hasheretz or from a nevela. According to Rabbi Akiva, you don't have to have that knowledge. That's the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara now goes. Rabbi Yochanan says no, they're not arguing in halacha. Mashma is they're only arguing where is the makkah from where we learn out that the helam has to be in the tumah and not on kachim. The 5th line from the top. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mashmois. Yeah, only from where we learned it out from. And so did Rav Sheshes say the same thing. Mashmois doishin ikmanai. The chiluk between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva will be where's the marker from where we learn out that the helam can be only on the tumah but not on the mikdash or kachim. And where do we see that? Because the Havsheshes, Machlov, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer, we find that the Havsheshes would switch between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva and the sheet and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer because la halacha didn't make a difference. Even though Rabbi Eliezer learned it out dafka from Benivla Sheretz, and Rabbi Akiva learned it out from Nela Matamihu, but he would mix them up because he said la halacha was no chilik. So you see, according to Rabbi Yochanan and according to Havsheshes, they weren't arguing in a din halacha, but that you have to know from what you became tamei. And according to Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva says not. No, they both hold. You don't have to know. The whole chilik is from where the makir is. Oh, shkoyach. Thank you very much. What's if the halama was sai? 2 things. When he entered the Beis HaMikdash, he forgot that he was tamei, and he forgot where he is. He didn't know he was in the Beis HaMikdash. Both. Says the Gemara, Amalei, so Rav Nachman said to Rava, had a helam tumah b'yadei. Amongst the halamas was not knowing that he was tamei. He didn't know he was tamei. And for halama of tumah v'chayiv, we say he's chayiv. Says the Gemara, had a helam mikdash b'yadei upater. But there was a mixture of someone got Shemaikim Pater because the halama was also not knowing that he was in the Beis HaMikdash. So he should be Pater. Ravashi said very simple. Chazinan ime tumah kaparish, helam tumah beyadei. And then Mechayev. You see they tell him, hey, you know you're in the Beis Hamikdash, and then you see him run out. So why is he running out? Because he realized he forgot that he was tummy. So you see, the halama was from Tuma, so he's chayiv. Or even Migdash kaparish, or you tell him like this: listen, you're tummy, and he hears he's tummy. He runs out. Why? Because he forgot that he was in the Beis Hamikdash. So harei ze halamigdash biyadei upatin is pater. So you see from the question that you asked, you could tell was the halama in the tumah or the halama was in Migdash. Amalei Rabbi Ravashi. Klum parish me Migdash el mishum tumah. Klum parish me tumah el mishum Migdash. He said you can't prove nothing. You could say, okay, ask him. You tell him. Let's start off with the first one. You tell him, hey, you're in the Beis Hamikdash. So first of all, it could have been he forgot. So you remind him about that he's standing in the Beis Hamikdash. While he's saying, why did he tell me that? Why did he remind me that I'm in the Beis Hamikdash? Maybe I'm tummy also. So it could be you had alam on both, and the same thing the reverse. Or he tells him, listen, you're tummy, and he runs out. Why does he run out? Because why is he telling me I'm tummy? He looks out. Oh, I'm in the Beis Hamikdash. So it could be both. He forgot that he was tummy, and also he forgot the Beis Hamikdash. So you can bring a raya from here. It's nishken chilik. Is whether the idea was in the the halama was in the Migdash or in the Tumah. If he had a halama on both, he paskins that he's going to be pata. As he paskins Rashi. Rashi says, "Well, chem esafik I efshel habi carbon," because you can't tell. It could be the halama was Tumah and the halama was Migdash. So maybe he's talking not chayiv in a carbon. Maybe the halama was the Tumah and not the Migdash. The Baal Zasaf, he doesn't bring a carbon, because if you bring a carbon and he's not chayiv the carbon, so it has a din like chulin, and you're not allowed to bring chulin into the Beis into the Azara. Into Azara, into the courtyard even. Yeah. Now the Gemara wants to talk about the day. In order to be chayv on Tumis Hamikdash. Let's see what the case is. There were two roads, Echad Tamei. One road was Tamei, and it was impossible you wouldn't become Tamei, because the maze was on the whole width of the road. So if he's walking the road, he for sure went over the maze.
It was lying in the road.
On the width of the road. One of the roads.
You couldn't step him over?
He doesn't know where the maze is, and if he went over it, he was mile ala maze. So he's also Tamei. But what happened? He went on one. It was there are two roads. One was Tamei, one was Tari. And first he went on one road. He didn't yet go into the Beis Hamikdash. And then Basheni, then he went on the second road. And only after he went through both roads, he entered the Mikdash, Chayv is going to be Chayv HaKarban. He's going to be Chayv HaKarban. Why? Because for sure he's tummy. He went on both roads. One of them for sure he was tummy. It's Avadei Tumah. So he knew Avadei Tumah, and he forgot about the Tumah. He went into the Beis Hamikdash, and then he had a Yediyah. What's if? So then he's for sure going to be Chayiv. What's if he went on one road, and then he entered the Beis Hamikdash? They sprayed him on the third and the seventh day, like they do with the Paradumah. He sprayed the Mechatos on the third day, and he's telling himself on the seventh day. Vishana. They threw on him the Mechatos b'Yom HaShlishi on the Tumah.
What did he do? They shot him on Mechatos.
He went over mace.
He didn't know if it's
right. It was a Safik Tumah, but then he went into the Beis Hamikdash.
So there is a Zoya and a
So by Yom HaRishon L'Tumah say, and then they did again by Yom HaShvi'i. And then B'Tavel, and then he was Tevel in Mikveh, and he became Tari from the Safik Tumah.
Okay.
So the first Safik Tumah is gone. And then he went again on the next road. So, and he entered the Beis Hamikdash while it was a Safik. Chayiv. We say now he's going to be Chayiv a Karban Chatas.
One road was about Tumah, the other road was no Tumah.
We don't know which road was Tamei, which one not.
Something with both roads.
Yes, so he went into one. And he went into the Beis Hamikdash, right? So it was a suffix. So he brings a Kabbalah because of the suffix Tumah, right? They spray the Mechates till he becomes, and he brings a Kabbalah. he did the same thing with the second, and the same thing that he's going to be chayiv again. Rab Shimon Peter, Rab Shimon says no. In the second case, since there wasn't a yediyah vadoyis, right? So, he says in the second case he didn't know for sure that he was tamei. It was a suffix yediyah, right? It wasn't a vada yediyah.
Since he wanted to both of them, so at least one of them is
So one will be chayiv, not for two. He says, for the first one, he says in the second case, since the first yediyah wasn't a yediyah vadoyis, right?
Right.
Before we said he's going to bring, in the second case, he's going to bring a carbon chatas, right? He has to bring a carbon chatas for sure because it's a vadei tumah. Rab Shimon said that he's going to be potter because the first yediyah has to be it's yediyah halama v'yediyah, but it has to be a yediyah that he's tamei vadei. But here the yediyah before he entered the Beis Hamikdash, he didn't know for sure he's a vadei tamei. It's a suffix. So since it wasn't a tumah vadoyis, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, when he went in the Shvil Arishan and became aware, it's only a suffix tamei. And when he became tamei suffix tumah, and then he went on the second one, and he became aware, so he doesn't have any more suffix tumah. You're right. Now it's a vadei tumah. Reb Shimon says, but the first yediyah was a yediyah suffix. Since it was a yediyah suffix, the first yediyah.
Yeah.
By the first shvil, it was the first yediyah. The second yediyah was after he went in the second shvil, right?
Right.
So you can't be mechai because you need a yediyah vadayis in the beginning. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda paita bekulan. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda says he's paita bekulan. Reb Shimon in the name of Reb Shimon. What does bekulan mean? He says v'afilu b'kamaisa. Even in the first case of the Braisa, where you remember the first case, he didn't go into the Beis Hamikdash till after he went on both shvilim.
Right.
So memanav shach tamehu. So there for sure, he's for sure tamei by after if he went in after the two, and there was a yediyah vadoyis because before he entered the Beis Hamikdash, he already went through both shvilim. So if he went through both shvilim, could you say it was a yediyah suffix? No, it's yediyah vadai. For sure, he became tamei between the two shvilim, and then he went into the Beis Hamikdash. He forgot, and here Reb Shimon says he's potter. How could you say? Rava says you're right.
But didn't he table it?
No,
after the first
not
one?
in the first case. No. First case, he went on both shvilim, and then he entered the Beis Hamikdash.
And he wasn't tabled. Whether or not
It was a yediyah, right? So Rava says you're right. In that case, it's a yediyah vadoyis. But here it's talking about different. Hach ma'iskin over here is talking about kegoyin shalach b'risha. He went on one road. Ubishar shahalach b'asheni, and in the time that he walked on the second road, shakach shahalach b'risha. He forgot that he went on the first road.
He was one of the roads already.
But he forgot he
was one of the roads.
He was already, but he doesn't remember. The Havilei mixes yediyah, so he only has a mixes yediyah from the real tumah. He happens to be vadei tamei, but he only has a mixes yediyah. He only remembers the second road. The road. He only remembers one road. But we're dealing with a vadei tumah, not like he went on one road. It's a suffix tumah. No, he went both roads. It's a vadei tumah, but he had a mixes yediyah. And this is what they're arguing about. Tana kamasava amrina mixes yediyah kechol yediyah. A mixes yediyah of a vadei tumah is just like a full yediyah, because we're not talking about it's a suffix tumah in concept. In concept, it's a vadei tumah. As Duchigang beide shvilim, he went through both roads, so he's for sure tamei. The only problem is his yediyah. He has a mixes yediyah. He only knows about the second road. So he says mixes yediyah of a vadei tumah is like a whole yediyah. Reb Shimon holds. Lo yamrina mix yediyah kechol yediyah. He says, no, I don't say. If he only has mixed yediyah, we don't. He's going to be potter from a carbon. He has to have the full yediyah. So that's the machlokes between the Tanakama and Reb Shimon. Holach bar Shimon nichnas. We learn now the Gemara is dealing with the second case. He went on the first road, and right away he went into the Beis Hamikdash. He's a Vishona. So what do? They sprayed on him the mechates by Yom HaShlishit of his tumah, and a second time, and by by Yom HaShvi, and then after he had the 2 sprays on the 3rd and the 7th day, v'tavel, he was tavel in mikveh, and afterwards, chazav halach b'sheni, then he went on the second road, v'nichnas, and he went into the Beis Hamikdash a second time. Chayiv, he's going to be chayiv akab mo'il v'yered. Reb Shimon Peter, Reb Shimon says he's going to be potter. So the Gemara wants to know, the Tanakama says he's going to be chayiv. Why? V'amai chayiv. Why should he be chayiv according to the Tanakama? He went on one road, and then he entered into the Beis Hamikdash. Safi Yediyah. It's a Safi Yediyah. And you're going to want to say by the second one, after he came out of the Beis Hamikdash, he went on the second road. So now it's again a Yediyah suffix. It's not 2 together that makes it a Yediyah Svada. He went one Yediyah, right? A suffix Yediyah. He went on one road. It's a suffix if he was Tamei. He entered into the Beis Hamikdash, and then he found out he was Tamei. He was Table himself. They were Matama him from his Tumah. And then he went a second time, so it's still a Safi Yediyah. They're not connected. It's like a new time. He's going on for the first time on a road because he already was Table himself. Yes, it's a Safi Yediyah. So why would the Tanakama say he's Chayiv? Safi Yediyah. I mean, Rabbi Yochanan can't also Safi Yediyah ki Yediyah. Rabbi Yochanan explained by Kodem Oil Yered, even a Safi Yediyah is considered the Yediyah B'tchila that you need doesn't have to be a full Yediyah. He says even a Safi Yediyah, a little bit of a Yediyah is considered as a Yediyah. I mean, Rabbi Yochanan can also Chacham Safi Yediyah ki Yediyah. Here the Chachamim, who are Mefarish, this is the Din Torah, that even a suffix, a little bit of a Yediyah, makes it ki Yediyah. But Reish Lakish says, no, you don't have to learn that that's the reason in the second case. The Tanakama says he's going to be Chayiv. Rather, Reish Lakish says, Hamani Rabbi Yishmael, it follows Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yishmael holds you don't need a Yediyah in the beginning. So Hagam, the Yediyah at the beginning was only a suffix Yediyah. We don't count that. We count only the last Yediyah. By the last Yediyah, he knew he went through both roads, so that's a Vadai and he's Chayiv HaKarban. We have a stira from Rabbi Yochanan on Rabbi Yochanan. And we have a contradiction in Reish Lakish on Reish Lakish. The Tanya that we learned in the Braisa. Ochal Safik Chelev. Somebody ate the Shoygeg. There was Sfan Chelev and Sfan Shuma. Chelev is the Isa Dika fats and Shuman is the Mutter Dika fats. So there was a Chaticha which was a piece which was a Safik Shuman, Safik Chelev. He doesn't know what if it was a Chelev or Shuman. Menoida, and afterwards he became aware, right? So he's of the suffix. He didn't know about it. He ate a chatika, he ate a piece of chaylev, which was suffix shuma suffix chaylev, but he didn't know that what he ate was a suffix. Then he found out he ate something that's a suffix chaylev. So on that he's chayv asham tali. Asham tali you bring when you're not sure.
What's the halacha on that, Rabbi?
That you bring the asham tali. There's until you find out. Once you find out that you for sure ate chaylev these are the gefats, then you bring a carbon chatas. Till then you bring a asham tali. It's a hanging sin. You're not sure if you sinned or not. Chayv asham tali.
But it's over with. He did it already. So what's the
No, when he finds out, he has to bring a new carbon. When he finds out for sure it was Isur, then he has to bring a new carbon. Then he ate another piece. She safik chaylev, safik shumam, and became aware again afterwards. So he has to bring again. He ate another piece of that. He has to bring again asham tali. So Rabbi says kisheim shemaybe chatas al kolach bi'echad, just like when there's a yedi in between, and you eat, let's say chaylev, you ate chaylev, and then you became aware, and then you ate another piece of chaylev, then you have to bring two karbanis. Koch maybe asham tali al kolach bi'echad. So too when it comes to asham tali, you ate once. No, if he became aware, he ate and he became I ate something that is suffix shum zav chaylev. Then so he was aware. Then he ate another piece after he was aware about the first piece. He ate another suffix shum zav chaylev. So then he has to bring two asham tali, just like by a chatas. Reb Shimon Yehuda, Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon Amma, Reb Shimon, Einoi maybe ella asham tali echad. He only brings one asham, even though there was a yedi in between. Shenema, like it says in the pasuk, al shigegosei asher shogag. So I tell you, Ripsa shogag is harbe be'asham tali echad. The Torah, because it says shigegosei, and then the Torah repeats asher shogag. What is he saying against asher shogag? To tell you, even for many shogagis, right? He's going to be only chai for one asham. Now we're going to go to Reish Lakish Shita. So here so far you had Rebbe. Rebbe says you bring for each one a separate asham tali, just like by a chatas when there's a yediyah. In between you bring two chatas. Reish Lakish says Khan Shana Rebbe yediyah sveikis mischalkis lechatois. He says that a yediyah of a suffix gagis is divided into two karbanis of chatois. Okay, that if it's mechalik the two to be chayv achatz on each one. So too, if there's a yediyah by the suffix chaylev, he's chayv asham toli for each one. Okay. So the Shlakish holds that according to Rebbe, yediyah's suffix is mechalekes. A yediyah's suffix is enough to divide the two chatois. So even though it's just a yediyah suffix, right? Rabbi Yochanan Amar kishem sheyediyahs vadai. So what was Reish Lakish? Reish Lakish says suffix yediyah is enough. So you see, even though by suffix, by the asham tali we're dealing with a suffix yediyah, right? So you don't need a full yediyah. You don't need a full yediyah. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says no. Shem sheyediyahs vadai between two shgages be'oma mischalkes is divided. Le'ini chatois by chatois, kach yediyah suffix mischalkes la'ashamis. So too by asham tali it's going to be divided into two. So what does he want to say? But yediyah suffix, when it comes to a chatos, when you have to be chayv a chatos, he says there's two categories. Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish lumped them together. He says just like by the asham tali, there was only yediyah suffix chayla suffix shuman. That was enough of the yediyah. If he eats again suffix, to be chayv a second one. So you see, yediyah suffix is good. So he says just like the yediyah suffix is good, even by a chatos, he says yediyah suffix is going to be good. Rabbi Yochanan says no. By a chatos, only by asham tali, that's its own category. Asham tali is a whole. The Torah gave a whole geder of something that's suffix, that you have to bring a carbon for the suffix, which is called asham tali. And what's the yediyah in between? Yediyah is only yediyah suffix. You're talking about a yediyah of eating chayla, which is eating a piece of chayla, which is suffix shuman. So since the whole asham tali is dealing with a yediyah, which is a suffix, that's the type of yediyah you need. By chatas, Rabbi Yochanan says, it's a whole different. In order to be chayiv chatas, you have to have a yediyas vadois. That's when you chayiv a chatas. So in order to be chayiv a second chatas, there has to be the yediyah vadois. So the comparison Rabbi Yochanan said was that just like in the category of chatois, the yediyah it doesn't happen to get to vade, the yediyah in between, and thereby chatois is yediyas vadois separates it and makes him bring another chatas for the second shoygeg. So too by the asham tali, which is it's a category on its own. It's all sveikis. That's why you bring the asham tali. So the yediyah suffix is enough to separate it to bring a second asham. Reish Lakish doesn't learn like that. Point. He says just like the yediyah suffix helped to bring in tzvei ashamis, the yediyah suffix will help also by the chatois. All you need is a yediyah suffix at the beginning. So it follows like the same achliks of Rabbi Yochanan and Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan said, even though there was a yediyah, only a suffix yediyah in the beginning, that's enough of a yediyah to be chayv akav ma'ila v'yared. Then there's a lama and then a yediyah. It's fine. You don't need a full yediyah. Reish Lakish says no. You need yediyah vadoyis in order to be chayv. Bishleim, Rabbi Yochanan says. Bishleim, Rabbi Yochanan kasha. So what's the stira? Here, Rabbi Yochanan says you need v'yediyas vadoyis. right? And Rabbi Yochanan said before, you don't need a Safik Yediyah is enough. Here, Rabbi Yochanan says, when it comes to Chatas, you need Yediyahs Vadoyis. Only Osham Tali, it's his own category. But B'chlal, you need a Yediyah Vadoyis. And Rabbi Yochanan said over here, Yediyah Safik, when he answered, when he gave to the two Shvilim, he said Yediyah Safik is enough. And the Kasha on Reish Lakish says you don't need a Yediyah Vadoyis. And here, but B'Pel Mamish, he says you do need a Yediyah, and Reish Lakish says you don't. So he says, Rabbi Yochanan, if you want, I can read how he brings. Here, Rabbi he says Yediyah Safik is considered as Yediyah to be mechalik between two chatois. From the Pirush of the Brayso early on, he says there's no Tana that holds a Safik Yediyah is considered as Yediyah. That's what Reish Lakish said. Okay. Bishlem, Rabbi Yochanan, it's understood from Rabbi Yochanan, like Kasha, because Khan also, he says over here, the Safik, he made the Safik Yediyah ki Yediyah by the Kab Meila B'Yoyed. But not by the rest of the Torah. By the rest of the Torah, they didn't make a Safik Yediyah ki Yediyah Vadoyis. Hachahu, only Dafke Benegeya to Kab Meila B'Yoyed is enough a Safik Yediyah. The Loik Siva Yediyah Behedja. By the Kab Meila B'Yoyed, it doesn't say beferish you need a Yediyah. Me Benelam Hudakasi, he learns it out from Benelam. The Benelam tells you that he forgot. That means that there was a Yediyah from before. But does it say you have to have a Yediyah before? In the Torah it says, from Benelam we learn out that there had to be a Yediyah before. So since we learn out from Benelam, and that there had to be a Yediyah before, but the Torah doesn't say before you have to have a Yediyah before, so even the Yediyah Kolsho is good. But when the rest of the Torah, no. They didn't make a Safik Yediyah like a Yediyah. Why? Because by the rest of the Torah it says Beferish Oy Hoida Yilov. You have to have Mamish a Yediyah. It says Beferish the Lashon Yediyah. If it will become known to him Chatas Hashachataba. So there, since the Torah is the Yediyah is written Beferish in the Torah, by all other cases other than Oilo Yediyah Mal Yasabinan. Therefore you need a good Yediyah. So that's how Rabbi Yochanan was mechalik. Over here, Rabbi Yochanan said, by Kab Meila B'Yoyed, Yediyah Safik is enough. Because we learn out from, it doesn't say by Kab Meila B'Yoyed, the Lashon Yediyah. It says, we learn it out from Benelam, it was concealed, that means before you had a Yediyah. But all, and this Brayso that Rabbi Yochanan says you need a Yediyah Vadois by Chatois, because it says, B'Feish, Shoy Hoida. El Reish Lakish. Instead of establishing the Tanakam of the Brayso that says that he's going to be chayiv, meaning mixes Yediyah is like a whole Yediyah. So he says, why do you have to set sign like Rabbi Yishmael that you don't need a Yediyah l'chatchila like Rabbi Yishmael? Rabbi Yishmael doesn't learn out Benelam to tell us that you need a Yediyah b'tchila. He learns how Benelam tells you that even Helam Migdash you're going to be chayav for. So Benelam is not coming to tell you about the Yediyah b'tchila. So according to Rabbi Yishmael, you don't need a Yediyah b'tchila. So he says, why do you have to learn like Rabbi Yishmael? Learn the Tanakama, like Rabbi, that since the Torah doesn't say b'feidish Yediyah Safik is enough. So if you want to know, he wanted Dafka to say that he holds like Rabbi Yishmael. Hakam mashmalan. This is what he's come to tell you. That Rabbi Yishmael, why did he bring up Rabbi Yishmael? Because Rabbi Yishmael holds loy boy Yediyah b'tchila. He wants to tell you don't need a Yediyah, the first Yediyah. The only Yediyah you need is at the end. In fact, you want to sheet it like boy. That's what Hakam mashmalan. You're saying, why did he say Rabbi Yishmael? Because he wanted to teach us the shita of Rabbi Yishmael that you don't need a Yediyah b'tchila. That I know on my own. It's self-understood. From this, that he doesn't use the extra Benelam to tell you that you need a Yediyah b'tchila, but rather, what did he use the extra Benelam for? The Mechayiv al Helam Migdash, to tell you that even if the Halama was on the Migdash, not on the Truma, that you're going to be Chayiv. So we know he used up the yitur not to tell you need a yidi b'tchila. He used up the yitur of the word benalam to tell you that you'll be chayiv even for Hela Migdash. So what are you telling me? You're coming to teach me that Rabbi Yishmael holds you don't need a yidi b'tchila? We self-understood. I would have thought kiles lei mikroi nafka from psukim. Rabbi Yishmael doesn't have a mucker that you need a yidi b'tchila. Avo megemara yislei. I would have said maybe he held that there's halach l'meish mesinai that you do need a yidi b'tchila. Kamash malan. That's why the Shlakish came to teach us that Rabbi Yishmael holds that you don't even there's no halach l'meish mesinai that you need a yidi b'tchila. Paket. He holds this. You don't need a yidi b'tchila. Hadna love yidi satuma. We shall return to you, Pedek yidi satuma. If you want, we can learn further. What time is Ma'ariv? 1:45. Okay, we'll do the Mishnah then. Shvuah shtayim shehein arba. What's the chilik between a shvuah and a neder? We learned at the beginning. Here starts the meaning of shvuah. Till now, you remember we started off the Masechta shvuah shtayim shehein arba, and then we learned almost 20 blot of tumah. And now we ask get back to the first thing of shvuah. What's the chilik between a shvuah and a neder? A shvuah is efun gavra, and a neder is efun chatza. What does that mean? A neder, you're making a neder as the chayfetz is also to make. It's not efun gavra. A shvuah is efun gavra. A mashal. If a person macht a shvuah that he's not going to eat matzah. So if you look at it as a shvuah, he's going against the Torah. The Torah says the Shavous Yom Teichel Matzah. He made a shvuah. So from Gavra, inside the Gavra, the Torah says al Gavra you have to eat matzahs. You're going against what the Torah says. But if you're going to learn it as a neder, it's not going on him. He's able to eat inside Gavra. He never put any limitations, but he said the matzah, the chatza, the matzah is also. The matzah is also. So if sich nicht, he's not going mitzad the neder. He's not going against what the Torah says. The Torah says mitzad the gavra, he has to eat the matzah. Oh, and the neder is from chatza. So in the Mishnah we're going to say shvuah shtayim. There are two types of shvuah bitui, and in the Torah, if you look, it says oy nefesh kisi shava levate b'svasayim lahora oy laheter. It goes on the future. For the bad or for the good. So what's the shvuah shtayim? The shvuah shein abba. So he says the shvuah oichal. It's going on the future. He makes a shvuah that he's going to eat, right? And he was over on the shvuah and he doesn't eat. Okay, so he made a shvuah that he's going to do something good and he did.
Is that an oath versus a pledge?
That's an oath worth. I have to really look up in the English words. Okay. Or he makes a shvuah, he's not going to eat, and he ate. Those are the two that the Torah says. It's both going on the future. I'm going to eat, or I'm not going to eat, and it was over. So that's, the Torah says it explicitly. Lahara, on the future. What's the two, the additional two which are told us? The two which don't say in the Torah. He says a shvuah, shachalti, that I had eaten already, and he didn't eat. Or he says, I didn't eat, and he really ate. So that's the two which are for. So the Mishnah, he makes a shvuah that I will not eat, and he forgot his shvuah. It's a vow. Yeah. It's also an oath. I'm not sure. Okay. Pledge is not. No, pledge is maybe like a neder. That's a neder. A pledge is a shvuah that I will not eat, and he forgot about his shvuah. Even if he ate minimal, chayiv, he's chayiv a korban because it was over on his shvuah. Those are the words of Rabbi Akiva.
There's a time limit on this thing. I won't eat for a certain amount of time, which I will die.
No, he says I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. Say for this day, I'm not eating today. I'm not going to eat by you. And he ate kosher, he's chayiv. And because he was over on the shvuah, Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, that's the gav. So the Chacham said to Rabbi Akiva, "Heicham atzinu be'eichel kosher Shu chayiv. Where do we find?
If he
By Isur, we find in order to be Oiv on Isur, you have to eat a Kizayis.
Different matzah.
It has to be a shear. Here you're saying even cultural. How could it be? So, Shehu chayiv. That you say that this guy Shazad, this one who swore that he's not going to eat and he ate kosher, chayiv that he should be chayiv. Where do you see such a thing with even with a kosher? Rabbi Akiva answered that where do we find that a person should be chayiv a carbon just for being over on his words? Shazeh, the one who swore, medaber, he's just speaking, he swore. Maybe carbon, and he brings a carbon just for his words. So since the chiyuv is on the being mevatel his words, therefore even if he eats a kosher, he's going to be a chayiv a carbon because he was mevatel his words. It's going on the gavra. If you want to look at it again, it's not mitzad the chefza. If you look at the chefza, that the chefza is a dava also, you made it a dava also, then taki you need a kazayas. But here it's a shvur mitzad the gavra. It has nothing to do with the chefza. So mitzad the gavra, even the kol shu is going to be chayiv. That's how we have to learn.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'll get that one.